Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast, the video edition. So as not to clog your hard drive with 6 hours of video, we've edited down the best parts of 2 shows today, September 18th and 19th, 2010, episodes 701 and 702. Enjoy. Hey, Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Our website, techguylabs.com, has all the things I talk about on the show. Thanks to James DeRuvo, who is assiduously scribing everything I say, writing it down in fine penmanship, and then typing it in on the wiki there. It is techguylabs.com. When you get there, you will see some links to other things. This is, by the way, Saturday's episode, 701. I probably have to go in there and fix that, too. Let me just make sure Saturday points to 701. You will notice a link to a chat room there. That is a fun place to go. That's where all of our smart kids go to mock me. We call it the kids in the back of the class. And if you click the chat link, you can go in there too. Usually around 700-800 people in there every Saturday and Sunday when I do the show. That's kind of cool. I really appreciate it. I call you guys my brains because frequently I don't know the answer to a question, but the chat room always has some suggestions. There's also a link there to the video. We do stream live video for free. If you want to, I don't know why, but if you want to watch the spectacle of me running around doing the radio show from the TWiT cottage and lots of other stuff. But the main thing is, of course, the show notes and today's show 701. I know when you look at the site, you go, Leo, what the heck are you thinking? This site looks like it came out of 1975. I mean, talk about funky. Well, I know, and I've been promising to update it and change it for a long time. It's just functional. I mean, it's got the text, it's got the information in there. It's a wiki, so it's very easy for James and whoever else is putting content in there to edit it. There is a search box, a list of sponsors, a list of stations, which we try to keep up to date, but it's growing so fast it's hard to keep up. It's basic. I know it's not pretty. It's basic. It's functional, but not very pretty. And I promise you, we are working on a much better updated site. Sometimes plain old text just, it gets the job done. I'm thinking if I just keep this site for another 10, 15 years, it'll be retro. And everybody, it'd be like, you know how 8-bit now is the thing? People are doing 8-bit icons. They look like the old Commodore 64 or Atari or whatever, those little clunky 8-bit image. That's the thing right now. And sometimes you're seeing people do 8-bit versions of movies. I'm sure there's an 8-bit Star Wars, 8-bit music. So I'm figuring it's like a wide tie. If you just keep it around long enough, maybe someday it'll get back in style. TechGuyLabs.com. Susan in San Diego. Hi, Susan. Leo Laporte here. What can I do for you today?
Well, I'm a little nervous because I know so very little about computers. So if you can walk me through this. My problem is I have a dead Dell, and I'm wondering if you can help me determine if it's salvageable, and if it's not, if you could kind of direct me in what I should get,
If I hear the term dead Dell, I think of that movie Office Space. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, where they hate the copy machine so much, and anybody who's ever worked in an office hates the copy machine so much, and finally the workers revolt. They take it out to a field and they beat it to death with a bat. And say, I'll give you a page load letter operator. And they just, and I know how sometimes with a computer that just would be so satisfying. So when you say dead, is it wounded? Is it really gone? What's going on with it?
It's gone. I think. Well, I've taken it in and had several opinions. What happened is I bought it about 5 or 6 years ago. It's an Inspiron 9200.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can tell you technically that I know about it.
That's all I need to know. No, I don't need to know anything about that. It's vintage or anything. I just need to know what's it doing that you don't like. Nothing, probably, right? When you turn it on, what happens?
you plug in the adapter thing, and the green light on that comes on.
Okay.
And then you hit the on button on the computer.
And nothing happens.
Well, there are 3 little lights that come on for about 2 seconds, and then they go off.
You go, and then. Okay, so now it's a laptop, and I am right. It's a laptop, right?
It is a laptop, yeah.
So laptops have lithium-ion batteries. Those are those, rechargeable batteries in there. And lithium-ion is really a great technology, but they wear out. And all lithium-ion batteries, after a certain number of charges, usually somewhere between 500 and 1,000 charges, just won't charge anymore. Now, you're 5 years old. I bet you've got well over 1,000 charges on that battery. I think it's just dead. Did you notice that the charge wasn't lasting as long as it used to?
Okay, here's the deal, though. It has a twist. I bought it about 5 or 6 years ago. It had less than 50 hours of use on it, and I put it in a box, and I put it under my bed.
Doesn't matter. So you've never used it?
No, I've never used it. We became Mac people, and we've been using, my husband loves Apple, loves Mac.
So why are you bringing this zombie Dell back to life? Why do you want to bring it back to life?
Because I've been studying some things at school. All the books that I get come with little discs.
Yeah, you want to, sure, you got a computer, it's under the bed, you want to use it, but it's a zombie. Brains. So I think even if it's just been under the bed, it may be. I mean, there could be other things too. The hard drive could have frozen up.
Okay.
It could be the CMOS battery. When you take a car out of circulation, you're supposed to put it up on blocks and drain the sump and drain the gas and all that stuff, and there's mothball it, right? I don't know if there's such a thing for computers, but I suspect. A couple of things I want you to try. First, take the battery out and leave the charger in and see if you can turn it on.
Okay, you can't.
You tried that?
Okay, I did. I've done that. I took that out. I'm turning it on, and then I get nothing.
Nothing.
I get nothing. I've taken the battery in. I've taken the computer in.
Oh, you've done a lot of stuff to it. All right, hang on. We'll finish this up after the break. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. And she should buy a new computer. We were talking with Susan, and I guess we lost her. Is that right, Luis? No problem, because I kind of got the gist of it. She's tried everything she could do to bring that Dell Inspiron laptop back from the dead. It's 5 years old, was under the bed, only has, she says, about 50 hours of use on it because they became a Mac family. She's brought it into the geniuses. She's brought it into the gurus. She's brought it into the geek squad, and nothing. She's popped the battery, still won't start. And I was thinking a hard drive, but it really won't start. It won't even get to the point where it's starting up the hard drive. It looks like it's not even doing the power on self-test. It is. Well, as Strike It Rich in our chat room said, it has died of neglect. It's lonely and it's sad. By popping the battery, I think that you eliminated that as a proximate cause. I think it's got to be the motherboard. Is something's wrong with the motherboard. Maybe the RAM has fallen out, although usually on a PC, there's something called the power on self-test or post. It's the first thing that happens. When you first turn on a computer, it goes through this whole, wake-up sequence. They call it bootstrapping because based, on the old saying, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, which makes no sense because you can't if you've ever tried. It's like lifting yourself into the air. You can't do it. But a computer bootstraps by starting small and working its way up to the full-blown operating system. First thing that happens when you turn on a computer and power floods through its circuits is software runs out of firmware. It's it's a chip on the computer, usually a read-only memory on the computer, sometimes a programmable or electronically erasable programmable read-only memory, ROM, PROM, or EEPROM. Doesn't really matter. It's just a chip, right? Not even a drive, just a chip on the computer. And on PCs, that's where the BIOS, or Basic Input-Output System, lives. On Macs, it's where the firmware, the EFM firmware, lives. Doesn't matter. That's nitpicking. What it is basically is the first code that runs. And the first thing it does is it kind of goes, hello, I am a computer. What do I have today? And it looks and it sees what hardware is there, and that's that when you first turn on a computer. You see, it says, I've got 2 hard drives attached and a CD-ROM or whatever. That's that code that's goes up the screen. Nowadays, a lot of manufacturers hide that behind an ad, HP or Dell or whatever. But sometimes if you hit escape, you can see behind that. So there's that stuff that's starting up. But actually, even before it does that, it does the power on self-test. So it turns on and says, okay, is the RAM there? Is there some memory? Because I have to have memory. I have to run out of memory. Is the RAM there? Do I have a display card? Is the display card working and so forth? If it cannot get past that power on self-test, if there's something so egregiously wrong with the system that it won't be able to display a error message to you on the screen, then it will beep at you. That's all it can do. And there's codes for these post codes, they call them, for these earliest failures. Beep, 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 beep. Too long, 3 short, or whatever. She's not even hearing that, it sounds like. She's not even getting that. After the power on self-test, that's the memory test. Then it says, here's what the hardware is. Then the BIOS or the EFM jumps to the hard drive. It says, okay, I got a hard drive. I've got memory. Load in the code that's on the master boot record on the hard drive and execute it. That code loads in, executes. It says, okay, now I need an operating system. And the third stage of the boot begins, and that's where it pulls off Windows or OS X from the hard drive, starts loading it in, and your computer boots up. And eventually, once everything's loaded and running, it gives you the log on or the sound and your desktop, and you're gone. You're good. You're done. So those stages all have to happen. And from what she told me, that boot stopped before even the power on self-test. There were no beeps. Oh, yeah, just in the chat room saying there is, you should hear one beep if everything's okay. That's the power on self-test saying, okay, I'm good to go, and things will continue on. Multiple beeps is what scares you. She's getting no beeps. She's getting the lights light up and nothing. So she has a very dead computer. Possible that some static electricity in the carpet when it was under the bed or something. Maybe vacuum cleaner can do it. Zapped that firmware that has to launch. It could be a lot of things. If you've brought it in, Susan, and nobody's been able to fix it, it's time to say, well, I would say dig a hole in the backyard. You can get a nice little gravestone and bury that Dell because it's gone. It's dead. It's not coming back. It's not even a zombie. It's dead. And after 5 years, even if you've been using it that whole time. Okay, now, so she wants to run some Windows stuff. She's got lots of Macs. She doesn't need a computer per se, but there's, discs coming, books and so forth. She wants to see what's on there. I understand that. You can, the good news is, buy much more cheaply than you did 5 years ago, a basic laptop or desktop computer for $300-400. You've seen the netbooks that go as low as $200. If it's discs you want to install, then you can buy a netbook and an external CD-ROM, and you can install those. But you might want to go one step up and get something that's kind of more of a laptop, has a built-in CD-ROM and so forth. I'm not sure I'd recommend it, but Nightwing's telling me that CVS, the drugstore, is selling a computer for $99. That's what it would cost to get it fixed, probably. They're so cheap nowadays. A laptop is never worth repairing, or very seldom worth repairing, because most of the time the repairs are more than a new laptop would be, and it certainly would be in this case. A 5-year-old laptop, don't put any money into it. So I would say it's time for a new computer, Susan. That's what you wanted me to tell you anyway, isn't it? You've tried everything. It's gone. Have a nice little ceremony for it. Bury it out in the backyard. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's a phone number. If you have a question, you want to talk tech with me, I'd love to hear from you. John's in Temecula. Our next caller, Temecula, California. Hey, John.
Hello. How are you today?
I'm great. Welcome to the show. What can I do for you?
I have a problem with my phone that I am calling you from right now.
Well, it sounds good to me. What could possibly be the problem?
Yeah, audio works great, except I can't see anything on my screen.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I got it like a year ago. It's a dinky little Motorola and Verizon messaging phone.
Bleed.
And I used it as my alarm clock, and to do that, I'd keep it plugged in. And I think that's why my backlight has totally burned out. I can't see anything on my screen.
So you did have a backlight. It's modern enough that you were lit. Yeah, the backlight could be burned out. The screen could be disconnected. If the backlight's burned out and you bring it out in sunlight and angle it just right, you should still see stuff on the screen. If you see absolutely nothing, it's probably just the screen, and it probably just got disconnected. I think that's an easy one to fix if you can find somebody who's willing to take a look at it.
I don't know, because before it would like kind of flicker on and off.
Yeah, it's a loose wire in the phone. Problem is these phones aren't worth very much, but if you have, this is where an independent cell phone company is so great. The guy on the corner who sells Verizon, Sprint, AT&T, everything. He's not a company store, but he's an independent. These guys want your business. They make money not merely by selling you phones, but by selling you contracts. But they want to be your go-to person for cell phones. And so I'd bring it into one of these guys and say, look, what can you do? And he can unscrew it. He could see if the cable's just coming loose, which it may well be. If you have a hinged phone, sometimes it's just like a laptop computer. The guts of the phone are in the bottom part and the screen's in the top part, and that hinge opening and closing can stress the wire, maybe even break it. Could be an easy thing to fix. Might have to replace the LCD, but chances are not. If anything has to be replaced, it'd probably be cheaper just to get a new handset. These things aren't super expensive. It's the smartphones that add up. But even now, these new iPhones, for instance, which are all glass. I mean, the front and the back is now glass. And of course, my son, who's 16, is not going to put a case on it because that's just not hip. I keep a case on it for a couple of reasons, but it does protect it from bouncing. And he had it in his pocket. Somebody, elbowed him, and it smashed. He says, I don't know what really happened, but he says it smashed the glass. You do not have to get a new phone in that case. There are plenty of people. We have one locally, iPhone repair guy, who you just bring it to, and he has the parts, and you can replace the back or the front. The front's a little more expensive because it includes the LCD. I think it's $145 all inclusive. So, but that's cheaper than buying a new iPhone. So the smartphones are more expensive and perhaps worth repairing. But the feature phone, I wouldn't bother, John. Wayne, Monterey, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Wayne.
Hey, Leo. Nice talking to you.
Nice to talk to you. What can I do for you?
I'm one of these people that loves iPhones and iOS and everything, and was one of the people when you started liking Android, was dismayed by it. But, listening to your show constantly.
I've won you over? I don't hate the iPhone. Please don't think I hate the iPhone. I love the iPhone.
Oh, no, and that's what I mean. That's exactly what everybody should know about listening to this, getting mad at you. It's like, if you just listen to what you say and just go and look at the Android phones and stuff, it's like, okay, you may not be won over, but you know what? There's a lot of stuff out there that we really should be looking at. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's feature. Look, it was bad. Personal computers, you get in those religious wars, Mac and PC, and I even then, while I would express a preference, it does finally come down to personal preference, especially as these things become more and more similar. A cell phone is the most personal device in your whole life. I mean, you carry that thing in your pocket. And some people want a keyboard. Some people don't want a keyboard. Some people want a big screen. Some people want a little. And so it's always going to be the case that you pick what you like the best. But I'm going to tell you pros and cons on both. And I have to say there are features on Android phones which knock the iPhone out of the park. I mean, they're just some really great features. For instance, on Android now, if you have the latest version of the operating system, not everybody does, but you can talk to the phone and tell it to play a song, make a call, and it listens and acts upon it. It's not just voice commands; it's built in. The search, everything, it's everywhere.
Yeah, but can you imagine a lot of people talking to their phones at one time, like in a restaurant?
Well, it's interesting. I was talking to somebody the other day, and he said, I got over that, and I just talk to the phone all the time now because it's so convenient. Apple actually, to be fair, the iPhone has a great program which Apple has purchased called Siri, S-I-R-I, and you can do the same thing. You could say to Siri, book me a table for two tonight at Delmonico's, and it will do it. And that's pretty cool.
And actually, the first thing it is, I went and saw the Droid X because I love the size of the screen. But,
I do too.
Actually holding it for a while, and now I call it the Droid Escalade.
It is. It's like the Escalade. It is a monster phone.
Yeah, and also one other thing about at first when you started doing the Android thing, like all Apple people, I got mad at you and all that other kind of stuff. But after all that, I said, you know what? I've spent more money listening to your show than any other show.
Well, I appreciate your open-mindedness, and I want you to know, and I constantly, for years, people said, how much does Apple pay you? And then when I started recommending Android phones, people said, how much does Google pay you? Nobody pays me anything. I don't have investments in these companies, nor do I accept even free phones from these companies. I bought my iPhone. I bought my Android phone with my own money at retail. I don't even take a friends and family discount. I'm just trying to tell you what I think, my opinion, as any good reviewer should. And with the caveat that everybody has something they like and, and want in a phone. I do happen to, the Droid X is my go-to phone. There's negatives about it. Battery life is disappointing. The iPhone has better battery life. Occasionally, as with all Android phones, you can get software on here that will cause it to hang or be unresponsive. And that's a little disappointing, although that can happen to any phone. I've had that happen on my iPhone as well. So. I happen to like the big screen, and for me, that's one of many reasons to go with Android. Did you have a question?
No, I just wanted to say thank you for for me being a Mac fanboy. That all the other Mac.
Bless you, Wayne. I really do appreciate it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. There's so much to talk about. A lot of news. IE9, Microsoft's. It's interesting what Microsoft's really, I think, on the comeback trail. I know I started the show last hour saying Microsoft had flatlined, but I didn't mean that in a negative way. I just mean the stock had kind of flatlined because Microsoft was a mature company with mature products, and the stock market rewards insane hypergrowth, at least in the tech sector. Not fundamentals, but hypergrowth. However, I think Microsoft did stumble with Vista. A lot of people thought Vista was bloated, slow, didn't upgrade. Didn't seem to hurt Microsoft's revenues in the least, but at least in the court of public opinion, Microsoft suffered. And they hunkered down. They said, okay, we could do better. We're going to fix this. They came out with Windows 7, which was really just Windows Vista fixed. Fast, lightweight, easy to use, clean interface, really a winner. Probably, in my opinion, the best version of Windows ever. And I think I'm not alone in that. It's out. It's good. It's working. They've updated Microsoft Office now. Very hard to make an improvement in a product that is as mature as Office. In fact, I don't think they have made an improvement. Not this time. Maybe last time around when they added a new user interface, the ribbon bar, that was the biggest change. But again, that's an example of making a change for change's sake. I don't know if it was an improvement, although some say it is. I think it's a moot. Some like it better, some don't. It's very hard to improve a product that, basically it does everything you need it to do. They've got all the features in it. And yet they need to, every few years, do a new version so people will buy it. So they can make some money. All right, so check that off the list. They've got the new operating system. They've got the new Office. This whole thing about Microsoft going into the cloud is not going anywhere. This Microsoft Windows Live, the new, kind of updated Hotmail, all that's nice. First of all, it's not going to make them any money. It's not really going anywhere. They have a new business platform that people in business know about called BPOS. That's pretty cool. But again, it's kind of more of the same. It's very consistent. So where is Microsoft lagging the most? Well, at this point, it's in the cell phone market. They let Apple take the lead with the iPhone. Windows Mobile 6 just started to look more and more aged. Then along comes Google out of nowhere with its Android operating system, and everybody and their brother's making an Android phone, and the Android phones are killing. Most people agree by next year, maybe by 2012, but maybe as soon as next year, Android is going to completely eclipse the iPhone and become the dominant platform. Microsoft, instead of just saying, I guess we missed the boat on that one, they went back to the drawing board. They redesigned from scratch, and they've got a great phone. They've got Windows Phone 7, which is going to come out next month, and a lot of people who've seen it are very excited about it. Whether it will be better than Apple's iPhone or Google's Android, I don't know. In fact, I would think it'd be difficult for it to be better because it's brand new, and there'll be features missing and so forth. But what I like about it is Microsoft showing its scrappy, innovative side, doing not a Me Too phone, not doing another kind of Android or iPhone, but doing something completely different, completely unique, rethinking what it means to be a mobile operating system, and I think making a very credible pass at it. So I'm actually very pleased. I hate to see any company just fade into the past, and Microsoft seems to have kind of they're the comeback kids. First Windows 7, now Windows Mobile 7. I think they're the comeback kids. But we'll find out next month, and certainly I will buy one of those phones, and I'll let you know. And I will tell you with brutal honesty what my favorite is and the pros and cons of each. And you obviously you have to make the decision at the end because it's going to be in your pocket, not mine. But I'm glad to see the competition. I'm glad to see the innovation. Chris, Vail, Colorado. You're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
Very well. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, I have a question for you. I became addicted to podcasting after you started that up, and I now run a little podcast network. But
wow, you're kidding. That's great. What's the name of it?
Well, my main podcast is called EMS Garage, and we're doing 4 or 5 shows a week of different varieties.
We've talked before, haven't we?
Yeah, we did online once.
Okay.
We've been doing shows and doing podcasting from shows and everything like that. But my question today is, we want to solidify the network onto one website called EMS Radio. And I've been having a problem trying to figure out how to make all of the RSS feeds feed into a player so that somebody could click on the main website and just hear the podcast without going in and feeding each one, say, through WordPress or something like that.
So you right now, as I'm looking at emsgarage.com, you have, for every entry, you have a little Flash-based player so people can listen to it. But you're saying you want a single Flash player that has all of the shows.
Exactly.
Well, and you probably know that there are widgets that will take an RSS feed and turn it into a player, right?
Yeah, I just haven't been able to find one, or one that works well. How about that?
I was using one on my WordPress blog. If I can remember, I think it's Widgetbox. Let me go make sure and see if that's the right. Yeah, widgetbox.com, and they have a free and paid version, and they will make you make it a custom widget that picks up your RSS feeds and turns it into a Flash player. And I went pro because you get certain advantages to the pro version, including no ads. But it's pretty cool. It seems to work for me. In fact, if you go to the front page of leoville.com, you'll see the primary way I use it, which is I have a single widget which has my Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook feeds in it. The YouTube is, of course, all of the video versions of my podcast. So for me, that's a podcast player as well. And in fact, if you press the play button in it, it will launch a little...
Coming up on This Week in Law, Google and Microsoft have egg on their...
A little version of that right on the page there without leaving the page. I think this is pretty cool. It also has my Facebook page on it. But this is fully customized. So I would say Widgetbox is what you want. Now, you may have to create a single feed with all your shows. We do that, and I think that's a worthwhile thing to do. If people, is it all for EMSs? I mean, is it all?
Yeah, pretty much it's all about ambulance services, things like that, yeah.
So presumably somebody who listens to one of your shows might want to listen to all of them.
Right, correct.
Okay. That's certainly true for me. All our shows are about tech. I mean, we have some shows that are kind of off a little bit, like a food show, but most of them are for tech. So I have 2 all-in-one feeds. I have a Radio Leo feed, which is everything that I do, and then I have a feed that is everything my network puts out. And you could have either one of those feed into a widget box if you want. You notice that what I'm doing at leoville.com, which is my personal blog, is putting the YouTube account, because we have one YouTube account that has all our shows in it, and by putting that YouTube account in that widget box, you're getting all the shows in video.
Oh, okay. Great.
I like Widgetbox. I think it works pretty well. You're right. There is some dependence on another company, which I'm always nervous about. But if they go out of business, then you can find another Flash player. But I think this works pretty well.
Well, that's perfect. That's what I'm going to use. Thanks so much.
Widgetbox.com. You're very welcome, Chris. Thanks for the call, and good luck with your show. Right now, emsgarage.com, but he's going to do emsradio.com if you're in the ambulance business, emergency medical tech, you might want to listen to it. John in Temecula. Did I already talk to John? I think I...
Yes.
I did talk to John. So let me go to Kim in Buena Park, California. Hey, Kim, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling, Kim.
I called you about 3 months ago asking advice on buying a PC laptop, and for weeks afterwards, people were coming up to me saying, "What laptop did you buy?"
That's great. You were outed on this show, huh?
Yes. So it's a good thing I wasn't asking personal legal advice from...
From Bill Handel? Yeah, don't ever do that.
So after your very good advice, I, on impulse, bought a Mac.
Oh, so now I didn't talk you into that, did I?
No, you didn't. I just was on vacation and with some friends, and we just decided to buy Macs and play with Macs.
Good for you.
So I like it. A little crazy with the keyboard, being different from my PC at work, but
there's some weird things, and the close box and the zoom box are in different sides of the window, and the menu isn't on the window; it's on the top of the screen. There's things like that.
Yeah, I find myself two-finger clicking at work that doesn't work, and then.
But I use Windows, Mac, and Linux almost every day, and you get used to it. It's like speaking 3 different languages, but they're so similar.
Yeah, I'm having fun with it.
Yeah.
So the one thing I want to buy is a photo editing software. I don't want to spend a ton of money, but I want something that will allow me to, clone pictures, maybe do some effects, cropping, that type of thing.
Well, I would start with the free Picasa.
Okay.
Which Google bought. It was a paid program, and Google bought it, and now they give it away. Picasa. They give it away because they have also a free online photo service called Picasa Web that you can use to share photos, kind of like Flickr, but it's a Google service. And Picasa does a lot, and one of the nice things about Picasa, Windows and Mac. So you could run it at work and at home.
Okay.
If you need more, Photoshop Elements is under $100 and would be the next logical step up. But I'll give you a few other choices in a second. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm playing Angry Birds. Can you hear that? This has become the addictive application, iPhone, iPad, now Android application. People can't stop playing it, and it's just the silliest little game in which you're trying to beat these pigs. You're birds, right? they've stolen your eggs, and you're mad. You're angry. So you slingshot yourself at the pigs' fortresses and try to knock them down. It's really just a physics game. But it's a lot of fun. It's very challenging. And stuff falls over and falls down. Pops. But in the pigs, if you can't beat them, they just laugh at you. It's extremely frustrating. Anyway, I'll stop playing that right now. Go back to work. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number if you have a question, a comment, a suggestion.
Leo, how about Farmville?
Louise says, Leo, how about Farmville? What about it, Louise?
Farmville is evil. Remember you?
Yeah, Farmville is evil. Farmville is a category of games very interesting from a company called Zynga. They do Mafia Wars, but there are other companies doing games like this. The reason and by the way, I had to go cold turkey on Farmville because these games succeed not because they're fun, not because they're enjoyable, but by social compulsion. You have to play, and you have to keep playing because your friends and family demand it of you. They helped you build that farm. Now they want you to help them build your farm and their farm. And if you quit Farmville, you're going to hear from them. And there are a lot of games like this. And it's a very interesting kind of adaptation of the game manufacturers. At first, game manufacturers just try to make something fun, like a game, like a board game, like Snakes and Ladders, like fun, like chess. Fun, challenging, mentally challenging, fun. And they realize, well, really, what you want to do is make a game compulsive, addictive. You can't stop doing it. A great example would be games where you acquire stuff like World of Warcraft, which is, I'll have to be honest with you, not that much fun. But you get sucked into it because you want to build the, armor set, or you want to acquire gold, or whatever it is. And I know that I'm going to hear from the World of Warcraft people, but let's be frank, it's not that much fun. You play it because it's satisfying to acquire this stuff, this treasure. And so you spend a lot of time running around, going on battles, going on things. There is a social element to it, which is kind of interesting because you are playing with real people. But ultimately, you're grinding it out. They even use that phrase, grinding it out, to get up to a higher level, to get more stuff. It's kind of, and you do it because you're compelled to. Then, in the last year or so, game publishers have come to the even more sophisticated realization that as successful as personal compulsion, personal needs are, it's even better to have social compulsion, to have your friends and family demand you play the game. So that's a problem with World of Warcraft, because your friends and family demand you stop playing the game. They say, we got to do an intervention. What is wrong with you spending 8 hours a day in this virtual world? But if you could just suck them into playing a game like Farmville on Facebook, where you're all playing the game, then there's this kind of complicity. They're not going to tell you to stop playing, because maybe you'd tell them to stop playing. And by the way, I'm building a hay barn. Won't you help me? And suddenly, these games, people can't stop playing. There's a great article. I think it was it CNET did the research? Maybe it was the New York Times, trying to find people who were playing this game out of control, playing this game. And there are people who play it 18 hours a day. They barely have time to sleep. They've spent tens of thousands of dollars on this game, because these games, and this is another little clever little thing that Zynga and these companies figured out. Not only do you make it socially compelling so they have to play, but you also, the game should be free. Of course, we want to make it easy to get hooked. But then, if you really want your farm to look extra special good, you can, if you wish, spend real money on stuff for your farm. Yes, trade actual dollars for virtual bits, virtual goods. And there are people who spend hundreds of dollars a month on this stuff. There are people who spend tens of thousands of dollars total on this stuff. In fact, it's not well known, but Zynga, the company that does Farmville, has a special platinum plan that allows you to buy extra Zynga points for starting at $500 if you wire them a bank check, and you get, a 10% bonus for buying so much at a time. And there are people who do this. They spend a lot of real money. I think it's it's an interesting compulsion. These guys are smart. They've figured out how to get you playing games that aren't that much fun, but you can't stop. You hooked? You hooked? How many of you are hooked? Oh, admit it. It's okay. I quit Farmville, but now I still play a farm game on the iPad called We Rule, and I can't stop. I prefer, when I look at a game like Angry Birds, at least that there's some gameplay to it. But even Angry Birds is learning. I've been told that the company that does Angry Birds has decided to add also real in-game purchases, real money. You pay $1.99, something like that, for Angry Birds. But they want to add a feature so that when you're in the game and you're on a level you can't solve, you can give them a couple of bucks and buy an eagle that will swoop in and just trash the pigs all in one fell swoop. And, I think there's quite a few Angry Birds players stuck on a level who'd say, yeah, give me for $1.99, wipe that level out? Yeah. Yeah. You pay to cheat. That's what Gweasel's saying in our chat room. Look who's here. It's the Gizwiz. Dick D. Bartolo, Mad Magazine's maddest writer and a gadget fanatic. He joins us every week about this time to talk about gadgets. Hey, Dick.
Hey, Leo, how you doing?
I'm very well. Did you hear our last call? I was talking to a fellow. I did. Cell Gel. He has a product. Actually, be a great product for you to review. It's a product, or I could review it too, but it holds your iPhone in this kind of jelly thing, or any kind of
jelly.
Phone. Yeah, I love jelly. But it's a phone holder, and it's kind of a clever idea. And he did it himself. He invested all the money in making the molds and manufacturing. We've talked about this before. This is a tough way to go, isn't it?
This is a long, long road. I don't, I used to, on CNBC, I used to do every 3 months thing on gadgets and inventors. And I don't think I met anybody who spent less than about $200,000.
Wow.
And you mortgage it. And then if you sell it big time, like to Walmart, something like that, they'll say, okay, you have to guarantee us you have 300,000 of these sitting in a warehouse.
We're not even going to look at it.
Yeah, after they see it. And then, so they sell it for 2 months and they go, this doesn't sell as fast as we'd like. So We're not going to do it anymore. And now you have 299,000 sitting in a warehouse.
Wow.
Very expensive. Very expensive.
That's difficulty.
But
That's
you had good advice. Send every press person, every blogger, one of those as a sample so that they can see it and play with it and then hopefully write about it. And you're only out, $9 or $10 for every person you send it to.
It's a lot cheaper. But ultimately, he's going to have to get it in retail if he's going to make any money, I would imagine.
Yeah, probably.
Has that may change, though, in time? I mean, he's got a great website.
Yeah. The problem is he's said something like it cost him $9 or $10 to make.
That's bad news.
The person they hold up for an example of making it big, I think she invented Topsy Tail. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it's the ponytail comb.
Yes, exactly. I think it was $14.95, and I think it cost her 90 cents.
Yeah.
So there, huge markup.
Right. Yeah, well, that's why I think if he ends up getting in retail, because retail will take half of it, he's going to really have to charge $30 for this $8 product. Or more, because they're going to take half.
And then that's going to affect how it's... He's really got to get the price of making it down, I think.
Well, see, he's being a good guy, and he's making it in the U.S.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so expensive. And
that does make it difficult and expensive.
This is... If people complain about, you either have cheap gadgets... and slave labor in China.
Right.
Or you have it made in the USA and it's expensive. Yeah, our podcasts are both. We've solved it. You're cheap labor and you're made in the USA.
Yeah. But I'm American.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it in America, but cheaply paid. So it's a win.
It's a win-lose.
Almost win.
Dick does a great show. It's called the Gizwiz. I've only done it for 1,200 episodes. You think I'd know by now?
Yeah, coming up to in 2 weeks, 1,200.
The Daily Gizwiz. You can listen to it every day. It's a downloadable podcast on iTunes, on the Zune Marketplace, everywhere there are podcasts. Or go to twit.twiT.tv/DGW for the Daily Gizwiz. And we cover kind of wacky gadgets. In fact, I bet you have one right now, just in your...
Yeah, I have a fun little gadget from our friends over at Monster Cable. And you and I think we both carry the earlier version of this with us. This is the newest Outlets to Go. And Outlets to Go is their smallest. The ones we have had a cable wrapped around it, and you unwired the cable. The new one, the plug is built right into the side, so it's a pop-out plug. So at the airport or the hotel, you plug it in. The first thing I like about it is under the little logo, there's an LED light that comes on that tells you have power. As a matter of fact, I just met the people from Monster Cable, and I said, you never mentioned that LED. And the woman said, there's an LED that tells you about the power? I'm going to rewrite those press releases. And then it has one 3-prong plug on one side, place to plug in on one side, and then 2 on the other. And then at the base, 2 USB charging ports. So it's a way when you get to the hotel room and there's only one available outlet. Or at the airport, a bunch of you want to share outlets. And list price is $30, but the latest check, it went down another $1 on Amazon. It's $20 plus change.
Boy, you want to be a hero at the airport. You sit down at the one plug for 400 people in the waiting area, and you plug that in and say, come on, a few of us can plug in. You will be very popular.
Yeah. At $10 a person. You see, now
and
there's
rich.
No investment at all.
Rich and popular.
Yeah, exactly. $5 for charging, $10 for plug-in. We have a $12.50 combo package. You can charge and plug. That's the name of my
Charge
service.
and plug. Yeah. And basically, I'm not even flying anywhere. I'm just going to charge you.
Yes. Yeah, go to hang around the airport.
It's a good idea, actually.
I like.
Probably make more money than making cell gels.
Yes, exactly.
Dick is a great raconteur, talent, funny man.
Racketeer.
A racketeer and a gadget hound. You can find him on the web at gizwiz.biz, and the podcast is there, as well as all the stuff that he talks about and all the other places like World News Now. Dick, great to talk to you.
Well, a good day to you, mateys. Leo Laporte here, your Pirates tech guy. It's Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Today, I won't talk that way the whole day. today. 8888 Ask Leo's the phone number. If you want to talk about computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders, MP3 players, home theater, or piracy. Arr. Every year, September 19th, International Talk Like a Pirate Day. No idea where this came from. I suppose if I look on Wikipedia, there'll probably be an explanation of what happened. It was started in 1995 by Old Chumbucket and Captain Slappy of Albany, Oregon, who proclaimed this day each year is a day in which everyone should talk like a pirate. Let me hear it now. Everybody, try it just to see. I think you could do it. All you have to do is go, arr, every once in a while. Arr. Arr. Yeah, see, it's not so hard. You really want to annoy people. Arr. Everybody in the chat room. Arr. So if you want to observe today, for instance, instead of saying hello, you'd say, ahoy, matey. You don't. The gruff voice is optional. Of course, if you say, ahoy, matey, it's just not going to have the same ring. Ahoy, matey. According to Wikipedia, the holiday and its observance springs from a romanticized view of the golden age of piracy. According to Old Chumbucket, it came into being as a result of a sports injury. He was playing a racquetball game with Captain Slappy. I don't think they called themselves Old Chumbucket and Captain Slappy then, at the time. And Captain Slappy got hit by the ball and went, arr! And from then on. International Talk Like a Pirate Day, now in its 15th year. Why September 19th? Apparently that's Old Chumbucket's ex-wife's birthday. Why not? So it was easy for them to remember. It all started, I guess, really to take the ball started rolling when Dave Barry wrote about it in 2002. He promoted it. Of course, Dave Barry, great humorist. And, of course, ever since. There was something about geeks, though, that have really taken to this. I don't know what it is, but... or even whether pirates say "are," but for some reason it's just taken off. And geeks especially love to celebrate this. Geeks don't care; they just need an excuse, right? Arr, arr. Speaking of piracy, big pro-piracy protest. A pro-piracy protest going on this weekend. 4chan, you know what 4chan is? 4chan is the web forum that no one dares speak its name. It's the forum that shall remain nameless. The forum to which no one shall refer because people are so scared of 4chan. 4chan is a group of geeks who are rebellious geeks who will who just love stirring up trouble. They say they do it for the lulz, which is L-U-L-Z, but really comes from L-O-L, laugh out loud. It's just they do it for the fun of the giggles. And they do all sorts of strange things. Some of them actually beneficial. Remember when that woman, there was a YouTube video of a woman throwing some kittens in the trash or something, and the 4chan tracked her down and publicized her name. Well, they decided, this group on 4chan called Anonymous decided that they wanted to attack the Motion Picture Association of America because of their anti-piracy stance. And an Indian tech firm called AIPlex that makes anti-piracy software. And they brought the sites down with what is called a denial of service attack, a distributed denial of service attack. They hit the website with a lot of requests that the website cannot ignore, but ultimately can't respond to, and others can't get on those sites as a result. It's, to be honest, kind of a pointless attack on something like the MPAA site, since nothing's lost if people can't visit the site for a day or two. But it certainly gets its attention. So I thought on International Piracy Day we should mention that. Another interesting story just came over the wire today from TechCrunch. Mike Arrington. I don't know. Sometimes I have to say Mike makes stuff up, I think. or reports stuff on the flimsiest of pretenses or pretexts, but he says, and so take this with a grain of salt, that Facebook is secretly building a phone. Now, I have to say, one of these, this doesn't, maybe they are, but it doesn't pass the smell test, I think, of something that Facebook really would want to do. What do they need a phone for? Well, he says, or rather, they're building the software for the phone and working with a third party to build the hardware. Kind of like Apple? No. I find this difficult to believe, especially since there's such great support on all the modern phones for Facebook. Microsoft this week announced Windows Phone 7 development kit, the release of that, the RTM, the final version of the development kit for the new Windows Phone, and a number of companies that were going to make software for it, including, yes, Facebook, Twitter. You can't release a smartphone these days if you don't have built-in Facebook support, and they all come with Facebook support these days. So I don't know if I believe Facebook's actually doing a phone. Maybe they are. Did you see, speaking of social media, did you see the Twitter hoax? Dick DiBartolo referred to it yesterday. I didn't get his joke. He said, yeah, we just survived the tornado in Manhattan. Apparently, people were posting, maybe there was a tornado, I don't know, posting pictures of tornadoes in Manhattan. I guess there were two small tornadoes in Brooklyn and Queens, so somebody photoshopped up, gymmed up a picture of a tornado, a fairly large tornado, coming near the Statue of Liberty, posted it on Twitter. A blogger for Time Magazine saw it, broadcasted the link, and all of a sudden it was all over Twitter. Actually, it's not a Photoshop, is it? It is an actual photo of a tornado passing near the Statue of Liberty in 1976. This is another case of internet hoaxes. The Twitter user who posted it admitted later that he did the whole thing merely to mess with friends. The Time magazine blogger ran a correction. I guess probably a mistake to believe everything you read on Twitter. Is that obvious? People nowadays get their news from Twitter, so you might want to just, think before you retweet. Think before you tweet. Let's see. Blu-ray has been cracked. Did you see that? It's funny, the DVD encryption. When movies are put out on these discs, the motion picture industry insists that they be copy protected because they're terrified that if you get a disc with a movie in perfect quality on it, that you will, take that movie, make millions of copies and sell it on a blanket on your front lawn. So they put copy protection on. When they first released DVDs, they put a copy protection system on called CSS. It was just a month. How long? Was it a month, 2 months before a high school kid from Norway, they call him DVD John, posted a crack for it. And from then on, anybody's been able to crack and copy a DVD, much to the chagrin of the Motion Picture Association of America. So when the Blu-ray format was created, the Motion Picture Association said, look, we're going to be extra. We're going to make sure nobody. And you know what? It's been out for years and nobody has cracked it, have they? Well, the problem with this is, in the long run, it's very difficult to keep these techniques uncrackable because, if you think about it, in order for a DVD playing machine or program or on a computer to play back a DVD, it has to know the code, right? The secret code. It has to be able to unlock that movie. And so a lot of software relies on that fact to perhaps get a movie unlocked, get the code in memory, and then that's how DVD John figured it out. Blu-ray was a little more difficult. Well, now the master key for HDCP, which it's not exactly the Blu-ray protection, but it was to keep premium content from being cracked as it came out of a machine, out of a Blu-ray player or into a TV, has been cracked. In effect, now all Blu-ray discs can be unlocked and copied. HDCP was created by Intel. Intel says if we catch somebody doing that, we're going to sue the pants off them. Problem is, once this stuff gets out, it's pretty hard to stop. As we've learned with the DVDs, you can sue, but some of these companies that do this are offshore, and it's like whack-a-mole. You can't shut this stuff down. So I guess it's just a matter of time before somebody comes out with a program that lets you copy a Blu-ray, DVD. Intel says if anybody does this, we're going after them hard. Let's see. Oh, speaking of jailbreaking or cracking piracy, it is a Talk Like a Pirate Day after all, me matey. The folks who do jailbreaks for the iPhone and the iPod Touch say, we figured out the new Apple TV, even though they're not out yet. The new Apple TV runs on iOS 4.2, and we'll be able to jailbreak it when it comes out. Oh, that should be interesting. 8888, ask Leo. That's the number. I'd love to hear from you. Let's talk tech. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Remember I said at the beginning of the show that Mike Arrington on TechCrunch posted a story saying there's a Facebook phone. His arch rival, Mashable, has said, Facebook says, we're not building a phone. Didn't take very long. According to spokesperson Jamie Shopflin from Facebook, talking to Mashable, which is TechCrunch's arch rival, the story which originated in TechCrunch is not accurate. Facebook's not building a phone. Our approach here is, I'm adding, by the way, the snide tone of voice. Our approach has always been to make phones and apps more social. Blah, 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 blah. Our view is almost all experiences would be better if they were social, so integrating deeply into existing platforms and operating systems is a good way to enable this. People mentioned in the story are working on integration with phones. You can call it a Facebook phone because it's an attractive soundbite, but building phones is just not what we do. Once again, Mike is smart. Mike's a smart man. He knows how to get page views and traffic, and that's really all he cares about, right? Because he sells ads to those page views. And so if he publishes a story that says Facebook has a phone, people like me go, whoa! And he gets a lot of page views. And that's why I said right up front, this doesn't sound right. Treat this with a grain of salt. And as it turns out, it wasn't. And Facebook acted fast. I mean, on a Sunday morning, I figure Mike posted on a Sunday morning, think, well, I could probably get, 24-hour run with this before Facebook responds on Monday. Whoops. They're on to you, Mike. Al in La Habra, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Al.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. What can I do for you today?
You've helped me a couple of times before. I think it's my fourth or fifth call, and I'm so glad you're on the radio. Lord, you've helped me so many times.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you.
Thank you. I purchased an old computer. It was at a church rummage sale, and I have one at home. It's a compact Presario 6000. I loaded up XP Pro, and everything was great. As soon as I put in the USB or a drive in the USB, it restarts.
Oh, yeah. I had that happen as well. And sometimes you can have a USB device keep it from starting as well. Usually that has to do with, it could be a couple of things. A bad driver, USB driver, because when you put something into the USB port, the way USB works is Windows goes, there's something in my USB port. What could it be? It queries the device. The device says, I am a Logitech CX4000. And Windows says, oh, good, I got a driver for you, loads that driver. Now, what's I think happening at this point is the driver is damaged, corrupted, and as a result, it crashes the system. Boom. And drivers could do that. This is a flaw. Windows XP, from XP on, Windows has been much more reliable. Remember in 95, 98 days, it would crash, it would blue screen on you all the time, at the drop of a hat. I mean, that just was not reliable. Microsoft finally, starting with XP, started protecting the low-level memory where the operating system was. They call it Ring 0. And said no program is allowed to touch Ring 0. But unfortunately, the way drivers work, drivers have to communicate with the operating system at a very low level. That's what a driver is. Drivers are little bits of code that let the operating system speak to a device, speak the device's language, like little translators. And so as a result, they have to operate in Ring 0. They have to operate at a very low level. And so if you do get crashes on Windows XP or later, it almost always is either a hardware failure or a driver failure. So in this case, there's two possibilities. Most likely it's a software failure. So Al, I would figure out what it is that's causing that and see if you can get newer, updated drivers for it. If it happens with all USB devices, then we know it's not that particular driver. I mean all devices. Even the problem is if it happens just with, for instance, hard drive, then that's one driver called a mass storage class driver for USB keys, for external drives. So there could be just one driver for a number of devices that's broken. But if it happens with mice, keyboards, and hard drives, and USB keys, then it's much more likely either the higher level hub controlling software, USB software, or a short, an actual physical flaw, maybe a short on the USB. Now, you bought this used. You don't know what's wrong. It may very well be the reason it made it to that church rummage sale is exactly this. Now you've got the problem. You've inherited it. My suggestion is if try to get updated drivers. Maybe Windows is a little bit broken. You installed it, so we know you have a copy of it and you know it's good. So it seems more likely a driver is broken, or perhaps there is a short circuit in the motherboard, which would be a little more serious. It would basically mean that you need to replace the motherboard. They've put in the chat room a link to a version of Google that's designed for pirates. You can change the language of Google, believe it or not, to pirate. And then instead of saying web, images, news, and groups, it says Webbe, W-E-B-B-E, engravings, updates, and cruise. It's Google Pirate and the Google search, and I be feeling lucky. Use me better spyglass, lingo tools. So I don't know if you've ever played with Google languages, but you could change the Google languages. It's in the settings, and there are quite a few languages, including pirate. Arr, me matey. 88 Ask Leo. Talk like a pirate day. More of your calls coming up with Captain Leo right after this. Arr. Hey, Victor.
Hello, Leo.
Happy Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Well,
You don't. I heard somebody in the background go, "Arr!"
No, I think that was just noise.
What can I do for you?
Okay. Based on your discussions with Trey Radcliffe, I'm getting back into photography.
Excellent.
25 years of film photo typing, and I recently bought a S95 Canon camera, and I've been taking a few test pictures. The
S95's out. How do you like it?
It's good so far.
People are raving over it. I didn't realize it was already out.
Yeah, I guess I got an early one.
You must have. Yeah, the S90 has been a huge fan favorite for a long time. This is just a superb point and shoot. It's not it's not an SLR, but for a point and shoot, it's fantastic. And people are raving about the S95 because you now have a HD video and a lot of other features. So good choice. Yeah. Good camera.
720p video.
Isn't that great? You don't need a camcorder these days, do you?
True. So one of the things I want to do is print the pictures. Now, remember in the old days, we'd take the roll of film to the drugstore and hand it to the guy, and they'd give you back a pack of pictures.
Right.
So,
By the way, I just want to point out, you can still do that, but nowadays what you do is you bring the memory card in. They'll burn you a CD. You can have them all printed, or you could say, I want this, 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 and this, and they'll print those. So they are not out of business by any means. In fact, some people like my wife, who loves her digital camera, I finally got her over to digital, but just doesn't want to take the time to print them at home. She brings them to our local photo finishing place, and they'll give her a CD with all the pictures on it. It's actually a pretty good way for her to do it. However, it's cheaper to do it yourself.
Is that the best way? But is there...
No, it's not the best way.
With fuss and muss?
Well, if you want to do... Okay, so you could do it yourself with a number of great companies. Canon and Epson are my two favorites. Make very good photo printers that you could print at home. Now remember the cost, because you're going to be inkjet printers and you're going to be buying high-quality paper, so you're talking maybe 50 cents to $1 a print. But if you own... But, that's the beauty of it. It's still going to be cheaper than getting film developed and printed, because you only develop the handful of pictures you really, really like. And You can do 4x6, 5x7, 8.5 by 11, whatever size you want. You can get, any size, up to, whatever the size of the printer is capable of. I have a printer. I use a very high-end Epson. I think it's an R4200 that does 19 by 14. So you can have portrait size. It just depends on how much you want to spend. But I think either Canon or Epson will do, the inkjets that do photos will be very good. Another option, which I also use, and it's not a bad option, especially if you are going to be making prints for other people. If you take photos, family photos, you're at a reunion or you're at an event that other family members are at, you don't want to make prints for each family member. You can post these on a website, share them with people, and there are a number of great sites that will let people make prints for themselves. They can see all the photos online, and if they say, oh, I really want that one, they can make prints for themselves.
Okay, so there's no machine that's a box that we could just plug a USB cable in, push the button, and prints come out the other end.
Sure, I wouldn't recommend it because you're going to be printing more stuff. It's expensive, so you'll be printing more stuff than you should. Do you have a computer?
Sure.
Yeah. The best way to do it is just so you take a bunch of pictures. Each day that you do a photo shoot, each event, you take that camera home, you open up your computer, and you can use, on a Mac iPhoto, on Windows. You can get, Windows comes with some software that's pretty good, the Microsoft Photo software, but I would probably go out and get Picasa because it's free. You import, what I do is I have an external drive. I will drag the pictures to my internal drive storage, and I will put the library that the program uses on the external drive. So I have 2 copies of it. I'll import from the internal drive and save to the external drive. Now I have 2 copies, and I have a library. Pick the pictures I want, delete the ones that are really awful. No matter what, you're going to get some pictures that are out of focus, blurry. You're never going to want these. So delete those. Don't save them. Save everything, but select the photos you want and print just those. You'll save a lot of money. So any good inkjet will do a decent job of photo printing. So that's what I'd recommend. I mean, yes, you can absolutely. A number of companies, Kodak makes them, Lexmark makes them, Canon makes them, are printers where you stick the memory card into the printer and it prints them. It'll print a context sheet if you want, with a small version, thumbnails of all of the pictures on a single sheet.
Was what software to manipulate the pictures.
Right, and that's why I suggest you do that. Do what I said first in the first place, which is copy it to the computer, manipulate, pick the pictures you want, enhance them. And every professional does this at this point. This is. I'll send you if you want to see what the pros do. Since you're following Trey, who is great. Trey Ratcliffe's site is stuckincustoms.com, and we are going to absolutely get Trey back on and talk photography again. And this will be a great question on him. For him on what's the best workflow, how to, and it depends, of course, but there is a great site, dpbestflow.org, that my friend Peter Krogh did. He's a professional photographer with ASMP, which is Association of Professional Photographers, and it's the American Society of Media Photographers, and the Library of Congress funded this, and it is on best practices in workflow for digital photography. Now, this is for pros. But there's a lot of great articles on here. dpbestflow.org. And what I would suggest, my strong suggestion is get some software. I use Lightroom, which is a $300 program, not a cheap program, from Adobe, Windows or Mac. A lot of Mac people like Aperture. The pros use these 2 programs. And make that be the first place you bring your photos in. So make a copy from the camera memory to your computer, to a backup drive or whatever. Import those photos into an event in this program. Now you got 2 copies. Delete from the library anything you don't want. These programs, both Lightroom and Aperture, are designed for quick selecting. You go, boom, left arrow, left arrow, left, or right arrow, right arrow, right arrow, and tilde for the ones you want. So you select the best ones. You do a very quick pass through them. You'll see in this website, they'll give you a number of ways to do that. Some people rate them on a scale of 1 to 5 and then delete anything that's less than a 3. I keep everything that's not absolutely horrible, but I only print a handful, only upload the best ones, and then print even a smaller subset of that. You'll get a workflow, but the idea is to, that day, review your photos, get rid of the stuff you don't want, pick the ones you really want. I upload them to SmugMug, which is it's a great site if you're a pro. It's not probably good for the amateur, only because it's a paid site. I think it's $100 something a year. It's expensive. You can try it for free, but SmugMug lets you store your photos in the highest quality, the original raw quality. Share them, as I mentioned. You can share them with family and friends, either password protected or publicly. But it also has a really great system for selling prints. So people, professionals use it to sell, actually make money on it. But you could do it, at no cost, no additional cost, at no markup to family and friends for 49 cents a print or whatever. They can get mugs, mouse pads, screensavers. So SmugMug's good, but there are other sites like ophoto.com, which are free. If you're really serious about photography, I like SmugMug. Ophoto is a Kodak's site. Same idea. It's photo sharing. You can upload it. Your family members can look at the photos and then make books or gifts or so forth like that. So that's what I would do. I would import the pictures, delete the really bad stuff, select the best stuff for upload it to a site where you can share it. People can order prints. And if you want to print it, I recommend an Epson printer. I think Epson does the best photo printing. There's a broad variety of Epson printers. At home, I use an Epson Artisan 800. It's an all-in-one. It's a Wi-Fi-based printer. For the kind of the day-to-day 4x6s, and for the really good shots, I use the R4200, which is I don't know if they still sell it, but it's the high-end Epson printer for the shots that you say. This is gallery quality. That's a full workflow, probably more than you need. But absolutely, Victor, if you're moving from film to digital, the print thing is something not to be forgotten. It's very important because you're used to, with film, having prints for every picture. I think it's an advantage not to print everything. I think it's a good discipline to get rid of the stuff you don't want to print. Hey, Luis, do we want to take a break or take another call here? You tell me.
Take a break for Carbonite.
All right. Well, it's a good time to mention Carbonite.com, actually, because I didn't say the last part of it, but they do talk about it on this DP Best Flow site, dpbestflow.org. Backup's really important. You're taking pictures of your most valuable. I mean, this stuff, wedding photos, baby photos, this is stuff you do not want to lose. So backup becomes absolutely critical. That's Scott Wilkinson on the Vuvuzela. Hey, Scott Wilkinson from the Home Theater magazine and the Ultimate AV magazine. He's editor-in-chief over at ultimateavmag.com. And he has an official South African Vuvuzela. And, a number of listeners have sent me Vuvuzelas. I actually have 3 now from South Africa, which I'm very proud to have. And Scott is a horn player, a very accomplished horn player. He plays anything he says, any wind instrument he can play. And so when he saw these Vuvuzelas, he said, whoa, I'd love to try one of those. So we sent him one.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm just totally thrilled by that.
Oh, that's great. Well, let me hear a real, instead of that, annoying tone you heard at the World Cup, let me hear what a real player makes of this thing.
Well, I can actually get 2.5 sounds, 2.5 notes out of this.
Okay.
Here's the first fundamental is very good. And then I can get a little bit more than an octave above that.
Wow.
And then a fifth above that.
Wow. Well, it ain't no shofar, but hey, that's pretty good.
In fact, when I showed this to somebody down here during the high holidays, they said, oh, you should use that for your shofar.
I don't think so.
My community would not have appreciated that.
But you do concerts with any, oddball wind instruments. I imagine this will make its appearance.
And I am going to use this in a concert. There's no question about it.
Fun. And it says South Africa on it, so there's no question what it is.
Oh, yeah. It is just so cool.
Oh, I'm so glad. Well, we've been taking questions from the chat room during the break, and lots of great questions. And I know you answer questions on Home Theater Magazine, hometheatermag.com.
Right, I have a column there, Ask Home Theater, so people can email me questions, and I'll post the questions with the answers in that column.
What's on people's mind these days?
Well, I've gotten, now that the chat room's paying attention, now that they're not all going, arr.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. I have had a bunch of questions in the chat room. One person asked if Pioneer Churros were still being manufactured. Sadly not.
That's the plasma that we all really liked a lot. In fact, I bought in the last days of it when Pioneer said we're going to discontinue it. I said, I better get one.
Yeah, and I'm glad you did because they really are fantastic.
Yeah.
The good news is I have heard some readers and listeners have written to me saying that they have found them still in some dealers' stock.
A little dusty, but still there.
One guy asked me, now, do they go bad, if they've been sitting in the warehouse for a year?
Yeah.
And the answer is basically no, they don't.
Unused.
Unused. Now, if they've been in a super high temperature environment, the plastic casing might have gotten a little discolored. But generally speaking, what I do recommend is if you buy one now, Pioneer's still going to service it if it's a problem. But really the best idea is going to be if you find one in stock, have the dealer take it out of the box, turn it on, feed it a signal, make sure everything's working.
Right. But let's be honest. Is it worth going all crazy about this, or is this like the turntable? Is it something that, fanatics might want, but aren't there equally good TVs available now in other...
Not in my opinion.
No?
In my opinion, the Pioneer Kuro is still the best flat panel picture, at least, if not the best picture, period, you can buy.
Well, come over to my house, everybody. I have one. I have to admit, it's the TV I watch when I watch Blu-ray movies, high-def stuff, and it does look good.
It looks great.
It does look good, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Somebody's asking, will there ever be a 4K or 8K in the home? You and I have talked about that
I'm
before.
sure, yeah.
I'm sure there will. 4K, of course, refers to a resolution of roughly 4,000 pixels across by 2,000 pixels down, more or less. The exact numbers are not quite that, but
so
still.
It's almost double in each direction, or 4 times total more pixels
than Blu-ray or high-def TV. Wow. And we are going to see that at some point. And there are plenty of people, and I am starting to move into this camp, that say 4K is actually more important and more impressive than 3D, which we're now seeing now is a big deal, 3D TVs and 3D movies and all that stuff. There are a lot of people who are saying, yeah, 3D is okay, but 4K, that higher resolution, is really going to make a huge difference in how the picture looks.
I don't want to say anything, but I've been saying that for about a year.
Yeah, you have. I've heard you say it.
And the reason is because it's realistic. And so the human eye is designed to perceive depth. Mm-hmm. And so a more realistic image, your brain will give it depth. You don't need any special tricks. Your brain will say, oh, I can see depth.
And when you see a good 4K image, and by the way, that has a 4K source behind it, it really does look three-dimensional. It's quite amazing.
How far off is this, though? Let's be realistic.
Well, it's going to be several years at least, because not only do they have to make 4K displays, the content providers have to come out with 4K content. So,
although, I got to tell you, when I talk to people in the film industry these days, a lot of stuff is being shot on these red cameras in 4K now. So I think that we are, in fact, farther along on 4K than we were when we first started hearing about HD. A lot of 4K content's being created right now.
That's true, and most movies these days are being archived in 4K. So the material is there and ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
But we need a new standard. We either need a way to be able to distribute 4K on disc, and there are plenty of people who say that
that's
discs
a ways off.
Are dead.
Right.
And even if it were, it would take a long time to develop a standard. I mean, it took Blu-ray a long time. And then there are those who say discs are dead, and it's going to be downloaded. But downloading 4K files, of course, which are 4 times larger than high-def files, we need a serious bump in infrastructure in order to do that effectively. So I'm not sure we're going to see 4K in the home, at least commonly, for quite some time.
Well, in my opinion, that's what's going to foster 4K. Is the motion picture industry is looking for a way to deter piracy, and
you were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, and to keep physical physical discs alive, and I suspect that's why 4K will do well, because they'll say, well, maybe if we make this so dense, so rich, you can't effectively pirate it. Maybe we have a shot at it.
That may very well be.
Yeah.
Although, as you were talking earlier about, Blu-ray, the HDCP getting
cracked right away. Yeah.
I have always been of the belief that there is no such thing as an uncrackable copy protector. So whatever they do, it's going to get cracked.
You're right. Scott Wilkinson, read his stuff, ultimateavmag.com.